The Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast is back for another episode. Join Marc S. Ryan, a veteran health plan and health technology executive, as he explores the world of healthcare.
Welcome, everyone, to this edition of the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast. My name is Marc Ryan, and thanks to everyone for listening in. This is our first edition in 2026, and as such, we will partake in my annual tradition of reviewing the last year, 2025. That will be the first half of the podcast. And then I will play Nostradamus to tell you what I think will happen in the new year, 2026. That will be in the second half of the podcast. We'll take our usual 3 breaks today, so let's get right into the 2025 year in review. It was a busy year in healthcare with insurer woes, a new president, and a decidedly different healthcare policy approach. So let's first talk about the presidential transition. The year began with a presidential transition with Joe Biden exiting the White House and Donald Trump returning after 4 years in the political wilderness. Trump has taken a decidedly different approach to healthcare coverage, but at the same time has shocked some with efforts to reduce drug pricing and coercing definitive concessions. Trump convinced Republicans to give him several controversial healthcare appointments, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to lead all of healthcare and Dr. Mehmet Oz to lead Medicare, Medicaid, and the exchanges. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, started with a bang, Elon Musk with a chainsaw in hand, but ended with a whimper. Trump and Musk had a high-profile breakup. But DOGE led to massive reductions at healthcare agencies, including staff as well as important science and healthcare research grants. Let's move on to the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA. It took about half a year for the Republicans to pass their hallmark tax commitment known as the One Big Beautiful Bill. The bill was centered on extending previous tax cuts as well as adding to them. The final bill increases out-year deficits by $4.1 trillion, including interest over 10 years. The GOP focused spending reductions on Medicaid and the exchanges to the tune of about $1.1 trillion in cuts over 10 years. These came in the form of Medicaid work requirements, limits, and a phase-down of revenue-raising Medicaid provider taxes, limiting Medicaid state-directed provider payments, and major enrollment reductions and restrictions in both Medicaid and the exchanges. The bill could mean about 15 million lose coverage. Let's move on to the government shutdown. The government shut down for a record 43 days, principally because Democrats held out for an extension of the enhanced premium subsidies in the exchanges. These were passed during the COVID pandemic and will sunset as of December 31st. No deal was reached on an extension, although discussions continue between moderates on both sides of the aisle in both the House and the Senate. Let's move to drug price reform and tariffs. President Trump came out swinging early on drug price reform. On Super Bowl Sunday back in January, he articulated his frustration with high drug prices compared with other nations. He followed this with several executive orders to remake and make transparent the drug supply channel, as well as institute most favored nation pricing. As well, he announced his intention to place major tariffs on brand drugs due to price inequities and to encourage domestic manufacturing and investment. Since then, Trump has gained price concessions from over a dozen brand drug makers, which will give Medicaid most favored nation pricing, massively reduce self-pay pricing, and theoretically mean MFN for all new drugs. He proposed a rule that would bring MFN to Medicare and announced a Part B and Part D model to begin the process. As part of his efforts, the president announced his intention to expand access to GLP-1 weight loss drugs, including expanding access to obesity alone and reducing copays in Medicare to $50 per month. In another development, after the administration demanded pharmacy benefits managers end brand drug rebates in drug pricing, one of the big 3 PBMs, Cigna's Express Scripts, announced it would slowly begin eliminating rebates and migrating to a net price strategy. With that, we will take our first break, and when we come back, we will continue telling you all about the healthcare happenings of 2025. Be right back.
Health plans and insurance are confusing. Our healthcare system is in dire need of reform. Health policy expert Marc Ryan tackles both issues in his book, The Healthcare Labyrinth. It is both a guide to navigating health plans and fixing American health insurance. Marc dives deep into how health plans and the American health insurance system operate. He then outlines a comprehensive reform agenda for the system as a whole, including pricing, emphasizing health and care management, and ensuring affordable access to health coverage in a private delivery model. Marc is a bit of an unconventional Republican in that he believes affordable access is the morally right thing to do, and that it is also fiscally prudent for our nation. Learn more about Marc's book, The Healthcare Labyrinth, at healthcarelabyrinth.com or search at leading bookseller websites. Available in print, ebook, and audiobook forms.
Welcome back, and we hope you are enjoying this episode of the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast. We are reviewing 2025 healthcare happenings and then making some predictions for 2026. Let's continue on with the 2025 year in review. The insurer meltdown. The financial meltdown of insurers continued and intensified in 2025. CVS Health and Humana had signs of financial chaos in 2024 and spent the year retooling. Molina and Centene also reported woes. Normally shatterproof United Health Group, the largest integrated healthcare company in America, announced major financial problems in 2025. Some accused it of misleading investors as to the extent of its woes, all to boost stock prices. Its president resigned and a previous CEO took charge. Only Cigna seemingly escaped the financial crisis. The industry seems to be doing better now and meeting investor expectations as they dig out of their financial abysses. But huge inflation, running at 6 to 9% the past few years in the employer world, as well as 10% now in Medicare, as well as Medicaid and exchange cutbacks will mean a rocky recovery for insurers. Insurers caved to administration demands in 2025 to significantly rein in the use of prior authorization. Big plans and regional players announced multi-year plans to avoid further government limitations on PA. Vertical integration also gained scrutiny on Capitol Hill. Let's move on to Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage profitability plummeted and insurers continued to retrench by reducing benefits, products, and footprints. Notwithstanding all this, MA enrollment continued to grow in 2025, if at a lower pace. The retrenchment continued for 2026 benefits, and some have predicted a contraction in MA enrollment. But growth held up even in late 2025. Here are some other major trends in MA. At his confirmation hearings, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz committed to major prior authorization changes, as well as to solve the risk adjustment overpayment issue. Oz announced a major risk adjustment data validation initiative to recover overpayments from plans. However, a federal court struck down the base rule that governs such audits. At the end of the year, the administration proposed major star rating program changes, including eliminating about a dozen measures to make achievement tougher, as well as to stop the excellent health outcomes for all health equity reward coming into effect in star year 27. Star ratings have dropped 3 years in a row, 23, 24, and 25, and barely stabilized in star year 26 that was announced in October, taking billions out of the funding stream as well. Average star scores still sit at a 10-year low. After major rate cuts in 2024 and 2025, an over 5% rate hike was announced for 2026. A healthy increase, but still concerning given major cost hikes ongoing in MA. While plans realigned in MA overall, major investments were made in special needs plan products and enrollment. In 2026, SNP products grew from 1/4 to about 1/3 of all plan offerings. SNP enrollment growth is about 57% of all MA growth from February to December 2025. Since October 2024, when the 25 enrollment season began, SNPs have grown by about 750,000. Let's move on to healthcare coverage innovations that are emerging. A PwC report predicted that over $1 trillion will be spent annually in about 10 years on a digital transformation in healthcare and the advent of personalized healthcare. The year saw primary care, concierge healthcare, and digital technology grow. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act allowed health savings accounts to cover direct primary care. Healthcare reimbursement ICHRAs expanded, allowing employers to pay for employees' individual and family coverage on the exchanges. Bronze and catastrophic plans on the exchanges now are deemed high deductible health plans to allow HSA pairing. CMS also announced a number of new tech-based models to improve disease state monitoring, lower costs, and improve outcomes. There was a cornucopia of healthcare acronyms, models, and pilots in 2025. We have talked about some of the following in my Healthcare Labyrinth news feeds, blogs, and podcasts this year, but here's some of those acronyms. DOGE, MAHA, EHO for All, TEAM, OBBBA, IOTA, Wiser, AHEAD, Generous, Globe, Guard, Access, Tempo, Elevate, Lead, Guide, Balance, and many more. I will have a blog and perhaps a podcast soon explaining some of these. With that, we will take our second break, and when we come back, I will tell you where I went wrong on 2025 predictions, and we'll begin our forecast for 2026. Be right back.
Lilac Software is proud to work with the Healthcare Labyrinth website to educate people on the healthcare system. At Lilac, we believe transparency is so important in healthcare. The healthcare system is opaque, and Lilac is trying to bring clarity to data and unleash the best member care, reduce costs, and improve outcomes. Our cloud-native payer platform revolutionizes data insights and analytics. Plans have all the data they need, but in silos locked away in point solutions. At Lilac, we solve the data fragmentation problem and help plans turn complex data into actionable insights, leading to greater operating leverage, tight cost controls, and healthier members. Health plans can improve STAR scores, reduce medical expense, drive revenue, and more. Quite simply, with Lilac, you can drive better business and health outcomes. Learn more at lilacsoftware.com.
Welcome back, and we hope you are enjoying this episode of the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast. We are reviewing 2025 healthcare happenings and then making some predictions for 2026. Let's get into some of those predictions first by telling you where I went wrong in 2025. As always, I play Nostradamus to prognosticate about what will happen in the next 12 months in the world of healthcare. Despite my Irish last name, I do have French blood. Well, 50% French Canadian, so I count it. But I don't claim to be an oracle or seer like our 16th century physician, apothecary, and astrologer friend. I do take a page from Nostradamus, though, in that my healthcare predictions for 2026, not really prophecies, will be sometimes deliberately vague. They include a lot of less thans, abouts, probabilities, mays, coulds, shoulds, perhaps, likelies, and possibles, so as to amass a reasonable record for those tracking and putting together my forecasting report card for the history books. This also tends to make my head bigger, as if it needs it, and boost my sometimes fragile ego. Here's hoping my crystal ball is clear and not cloudy, but don't hold me to any of this. I am simply your intrepid Healthcare Labyrinth blogger and podcaster having a little fun. Again, because I am a stickler for accuracy, here's my 2025 prediction report card. Where was I right in 2025? The influence of conservative think tanks on Trump. Healthcare nominees were approved. Major Department of Government efficiency cuts and employee downsizing, as well as regulatory repeals. Passage of the big, beautiful bill with tax cuts. That Trump and the GOP would shy away from a master overhaul of healthcare programs, but still dramatically impact coverage with reductions. Promotion of individual coverage. Enhanced exchange subsidies would expire at the end of 25. Making America healthy again will be a reality. Health plan financial troubles and huge costs with a huge shakeup in plan leadership to plot a recovery. MA enrollment growth, yet contraction in offerings. Poor star performance as well as overpayment activity. Drug price reform by Trump, including pushing most favored nation pricing. PBM transparency would take hold. Prior authorization reforms, greater interoperability proposals, partial Medicare doc rate fix, beginnings of site-neutral payment reform, and some rise in the uninsured rate. So where did I go wrong in 2025? PBM reform. It almost happened, but didn't. Antitrust efforts. Not much out there. Supplemental benefits and marketing reform in MA. MA as a default option and other reforms in the One Big Beautiful Bill. Retreating on some Part D Inflation Reduction Act cost-sharing changes. Possible Medicaid reimbursement cuts and restructure, although the provider tax is being phased down. And last, employer tax deductibility possibly changed. With that, we will take our last break, and when we come back, we will lay out my 2026 predictions. Be right back.
The Healthcare Labyrinth is no ordinary website. It features news and commentary from one of the nation's leading healthcare policy and technology experts. Marc Ryan combs the internet for the latest healthcare news and publishes a news feed each weekday with summations and Marc's insights. Twice a week, Marc publishes a blog to go deep into a current issue. And of course, Marc hosts a podcast each week to delve even further. All of this is available at healthcarelabyrinth.com. Visit each day for the latest happenings in healthcare. As well, learn more about Marc's book, The Healthcare Labyrinth, at the website. That's healthcarelabyrinth.com, your go-to source for healthcare news.
Welcome back, and we hope you are enjoying this episode of the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast. We are reviewing 2025 healthcare happenings and then making some predictions for 2026. So let's get right into my 2026 predictions right now before we conclude. New government shutdown. There is a less than 50-50 shot that there will be a second government shutdown. Exchange subsidy extension. There is about a 50-50 shot that a last-minute compromise on some sort of enhanced exchange premium subsidy extension could occur. Further healthcare reform. There is a higher probability that the GOP will seek further healthcare reforms to attempt to insulate it from fallout on affordability in the 2026 midterms. This could include expansion of health savings accounts, leaner coverage products, and personalized approaches. Midterm elections. Despite GOP efforts to cast aside affordability in general, and with healthcare specifically, the GOP may see major losses in the 2026 midterms. The GOP may have between 51 and 53 seats in the Senate, holding the current count or losing 2 seats, and the House likely will flip to Democratic control. Democrats may gain between 20 and 30 seats, giving them 235 to 245 seats to the GOP's 190 to 200. This will split Congress under the last 2 years of the Trump presidency. Tariffs. The president's tariffs likely will largely be struck down by the Supreme Court, including for drugs and medical devices. Health plan finances. Health plans will see recovery in 2026, but be impacted by high costs and trends. Still, investors should see plans hitting targets, and this will cause stocks to recover. Drug prices. Drug price reform should continue until under the president's guidance, including GLP-1 coverage in 2027 for obesity and Medicare, and lower cost sharing as well. MA likely does not contract in 2026 as many project, but will see a leveling off or just a small growth. MA rates should be big for 2027 given huge trends in the program. STAR changes will be finalized. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services may try to move forward on risk adjustment data validation audits, but it will be hobbled by the federal ruling against it. It will lose appeals, but Congress may pass overpayment reform. Congress may also pass further PA reforms and PBM reforms. Plans are likely to rein in mainstream offerings slightly again in 2027 while continuing investment in SNPs. AI regulation will be hotly debated, with states challenging the president's bar on state-level regulation. M&A will recover, but Congress and the administration may seek to intervene to stop and better regulate mergers and consolidations. Modest vertical integration reforms may finally pass. With that, we will conclude. Happy New Year and to a great 2026 to all of you personally and professionally. Remember that a lasting legacy is not in the money you leave behind, but in the lives you impact. Family, friends, and the greater community. Take care and see you next week on the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast.
Thanks for joining Mark and the Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast. Go to healthcarelabyrinth.com each day for the latest healthcare news. See you next week on the next Healthcare Labyrinth Podcast.